America's best days are yet to come. That's because conservatives like you know and live the values our great country was built on. The Heritage Foundation exists to make sure your voice is heard in the D.C. swamp each day, shining the light on a bright future. The Heritage Foundation stands for your values and won't give up the fight because they know you never will. Paid for by the Heritage Foundation.
He's here. He's here. Now, broadcasting from the underground command post, deep in the bowels of a hidden bunker, somewhere under the brick and steel of a nondescript building, we've once again made contact with our leader, Mark Levin.
Mark Levin here. Our number, 877-381-3811, 877-381-3811. You know, I just saw this. And by the way, how are you, America? Friday, we keep the foot on the gas pedal. I just saw this. Washington Free Beacon. Thomas Katanaki. Bernie Sanders reports $80,000 splurge on private jets as he condemns America's oligarch form of society. I'm sick of these Marxist bastards who attack wealth and yet acquire wealth or favors all the time. I'm really sick of it. Sanders' campaign has spent more than $500,000 chartering jets this year. Chartering jets all over the place. I flew back to Virginia from Florida with my wife and my mother-in-law. And as we were getting on the plane, you know who was getting on the plane right in front of us, Mr. Producer? Donald Trump Jr. and the Secret Service. He was sitting in row 16. We were in row 25. Now, that's not to say that they don't have private jets and so forth and so on, but he doesn't preach Marxism and socialism either. No, he doesn't. So to me, this is infuriating, this guy, Bernie Sanders. He's using campaign money. He spent more than $500,000 on chartering jets this year. You know AOC does the same damn thing. Senator Bernie Sanders' campaign spent $78,371 chartering private jets between July and September, according to federal campaign finance disclosures submitted Wednesday. Just a few hours later, Sanders lamented that the United States is increasingly becoming an oligarchical form of society during a CNN town hall meeting. Continues the campaign's pattern of spending lavishly on private air travel. During the 6 months prior, friends of Bernie Sanders, all three of them, spent more than $450,000 chartering jets. Sanders has been unapologetic about his use of private jets. He scoffed when Fox News anchor Bret Baier asked him about a Washington Free Beacon report highlighting his spending on private jets during an interview in May. You think I'm going to be sitting, waiting in line at United, waiting while 30,000 people are waiting, Sanders said? Listen to this guy, man of the people, right, Rich? That's what I do. If people are in line, I'm in line. Commercial. It's called flying commercial. It's the only way to get around. No apologies for that. That's what campaign travel's about. We've done it in the past, and we'll do it in the future. Campaign travel, he's not running. He may run at some point. He's flying all over the country. It's unclear whether Sanders feels the same about his campaign staffers. The same day his campaign paid the firm NJet $33,371 in August. For example, it also spent $30,629 on commercial airline tickets. Overall, during the 3-month period ending in September, it spent more than $50,000 on commercial airfare from American and all the airlines. So he's spending tons of money on commercial airfare for his staff. He goes private. He's spending over $500,000 so far this year. Friends of Bernie Sanders, it appears, has primarily chartered private jets to transport the senator to stops along his fighting oligarchy tour. This is sick. A series of political rallies featuring him and Sandy Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. I thought you'd be on your game with that music, Mr. Producer. All right. The tour, it's fair enough. The tour began in February and has included 35 stops across the country, including most recently a rally in New York with, of course, Zohran Mamdani, another millionaire, had his wedding in Uganda, a wall and fence around the home, multi-million-dollar home. These people are a joke. The revelation also comes as lawmakers remain in a stalemate over the ongoing Democrat-led shutdown. We're going to fight for federal employees, Sanders said when asked about the impact shutdown support he supports has had on government workers. So they shut it down, quote unquote, and then they say they're defending government workers. That's the way it works. So Bernie Sanders is spending enormous sums of money on private charter air flights for the reason he says. You think I'm going to wait with 30,000 other people at the airport? I'm not going to do that. And he won't wait for health care when you're standing in line once the government controls that, ladies and gentlemen. Or the food lines. He won't be in any line. He's a Maduro. He's a Castro. He's a Xi. That's what he is. He's a commie. And by the way, that's not a pejorative. He's a commie. I mean, how many people went to a Stalinist kibbutz? You really got to work at that. I never even heard of them before. We're going to get into this debate last night. By the way, are we being heard on WABC right now, Mr. Producer? Will you check that out, please? Okay, let's check that out. I do understand why they wanted to run the debate, of course. And Mamdani is a liar. That's what I get out of it. A full-fledged, full-throated, lying SOB. That's what it is. But you know what? I was listening, and I don't always... I think it was around 10 a.m., Speaker Johnson at a press conference. I said to myself, wow, this guy, he's hitting it out of the park. He's absolutely hitting it out of the park. In many ways, he sounded like me with the accurate nomenclature for these people, Marxists and Islamists and all the rest. He was just killing it. And many of you didn't hear it because you're at work or you're doing other things, so I want to play some of this for you. I've never played it for you before. It was just fantastic. So we'll do some now and some after the break, but let's take a listen. This is Speaker Mike Johnson at a press conference today. Cut 10, go.
It is so difficult to be a happy warrior when you know that so many millions of American people are suffering, being made to suffer unnecessarily because of the Democrats' political games. If you're keeping count at home, we're on day 17 of the shutdown. The Democrats have now voted for the 11th time to keep the government closed. 11 times now. They've refused to just do their basic job, get the government going again, making sure that federal employees are paid, that our troops are paid, Border Patrol agents, TSA agents, air traffic controllers, and everyone else who relies upon the vital services of our federal government. They're being denied that because Democrats in Congress are playing games.
11, go.
Now, tomorrow, the Democrat leaders are going to join for a big party out on the National Mall. They're going to descend on our Capitol for their much-anticipated so-called No Kings rally. We refer to it by its more accurate description, the Hate America rally, okay? And I'm not sure how anybody can refute that. If you think about what's going to happen here tomorrow, you're going to bring together the Marxists, the Socialists, the Antifa advocates, the anarchists, and the pro-Hamas wing of the far-left Democrat Party. That is the modern Democratic Party. That's where they've gone. And the Hate America rally is the common theme among all those groups. Listen to the language they use themselves. Many of them don't like living in America. They hate capitalism. They hate our free enterprise system. They hate our principles. They hate the ideas that we come in to work every day to fight for, to preserve, in the greatest nation in the history of the world. They hate the idea of individual freedom and limited government. They hate the idea of the rule of law. They fight against it all the time. They hate the idea of peace through strength. They lobby against it all the time. Individual freedom, limited government, the rule of law, peace through strength, fiscal responsibility, free markets, human dignity, the things that lead to human flourishing, the things that made us the greatest nation in the history of the world. They're opposed to law enforcement. They're opposed to military. And their votes show it over and over. That's the collection of voices that you'll hear tomorrow that the Democrats will go out and raise their hands with and cheer with. And some of these people are so blinded by their hatred of President Donald Trump that they can't find one reason to celebrate America or all that we've accomplished and continue to accomplish under this new administration.
Mm-hmm. And when we come back, I want you to hear a little bit more, and then I want to tell you who's funding this. Look, the Democrats, none of this is spontaneous. It's never spontaneous. It's like the communist rallies of old. You know, they pay people to show up at events, pay people to riot. None of this is spontaneous. It's all planned. It's all plotted, and then the media pretend that it is. But we'll get to the bottom of this. We'll be right back.
Mark Levin.
Folks, I have a question for you. Do you believe America's best days are still ahead? With the 250th anniversary of the signing of the Declaration of Independence coming up in less than a year, my friends at the Heritage Foundation are taking stock of the current situation, and they need your input. They've launched a survey on America's future to gauge how Americans feel right now about where we are as a nation and where we're headed in the next 250 years. You know, for decades, your American values have been under attack, but now, with President Trump's administration in office, we have an opportunity to turn the tide and usher in a new golden age for America. But the Heritage Foundation needs to hear from you. What policies do patriots like you most care about? What do you believe are the defining principles of America? What legacy do you believe we should pass on to the next generation? Please visit heritage.org/Levin today and share your feedback and help shape the future of America. That's heritage.org/LEVIN. Paid for by the Heritage Foundation. A little bit more of our friend, Speaker Mike Johnson, laying out this No King's Day. These people are so pathetic. Cut 12, go.
Republicans, by the way, are the party that fights to maximize your liberty. And we believe, just as our founders did, that every American has been endowed by God himself with unalienable rights, and that includes the rights to life and liberty and the pursuit of happiness. But tomorrow, this rally is not about freedom. It's about the opposite. For many of our Democrat colleagues, tomorrow is about creating really a spectacle. That's what they've been doing here every day of the shutdown with their little TikTok videos and their publicity stunts. And they're going to do it in a much larger venue tomorrow. And as the shutdown drags on, it's becoming increasingly clear that this spectacle is the reason the Democrats have refused to reopen the government.
Mm-hmm. And the last, cut 13, please go.
Is AOC, does she have both oars in the water here, thinking that the president is going to bow down to these demands?
With every ounce of Christian character that I can muster, Laura, let me just say, bless her heart, okay? This would be comical if it were not so dangerous. You're looking at the two leaders of the modern Democratic Party. We say all the time, this is not your father's party. It's not. These guys are full Marxist. You hear how vapid their ideology is, how empty, what empty suits they are. But they are the leaders of the party. They are dragging the rest of the old guard, the old party leaders around by the nose, and they are subservient to their wishes. I mean, Chuck Schumer has picked a fight over this very simple, clean CR to just keep the government funded for 21 additional days till November 21st, 7 more weeks, so that we could get the appropriations process done. And the reason he did it is because he is afraid of that voice you just heard on that stage. He's afraid that AOC is going to challenge him. There's a rise of Marxism in the party. It's happening in New York, in their state, and he's terrified. And that's why everybody around the country is feeling such pain right now, because of this nonsense.
Our AOC music. Oh, yes. Hell of a bartender. Over at Breitbart, Democrat fundraising machine in high gear ahead of no King's Day protests. Americans are being bombarded by unsolicited texts and emails, hoping to increase funding to cover expenses related to nationwide protests taking place in more than 100 major cities across the U.S. on Saturday tomorrow, especially in Washington. Emails and text messages offer links that direct recipients to left-wing fundraising websites such as ActBlue, Inequality Media, ActionNetwork.org, and ProtectingVoting.org. One unsolicited text message sent to random numbers nationwide reportedly comes directly from former Secretary of Labor, the former Secretary of Labor, Robert Reich, the little fellow, under the Clinton administration. That message reads, Robert Reich here. Are you going to attend a No King's Day event on October 18? Let me know. The message sends users to actionnetwork.org. In fine print below, an area where recipients can choose to confirm their attendance, a long legal release of liability paragraph is placed that shields several left-wing organizations from liability for injury or death while in attendance of the quote-unquote peaceful protests. One widely distributed unsolicited email directs recipients to an ActBlue website that asks for monetary contributions to bus, quote, college students and young people, unquote, to the protests. By donating $25, ActBlue will provide bagels and coffee. I would think they would provide falafels, Mr. Producer. To one busload of protesters. Donations of $35 will cover signs and materials. $50 will fund pizza for another busload. $100 will cover the transportation of 60 students, quote unquote, to a No King's Day protest. So you can see this whole thing is a concoction. This whole thing. Breitbart, Texas, attended a No King's Day protest in Austin in June, held at the Texas State Capitol building. During the observation, no college students were seen attending pizza parties or receiving bagels and coffee. Some of the attendants brought their own helmets, gas masks, shields that will later be used when the protest spilled onto the streets of Austin. As reported by Breitbart, Texas, at the time, hundreds of so-called No Kings protesters in Austin poured onto the downtown streets sporting dark clothing, helmets, face coverings, sounds like Antifa, and gas masks, shouting obscenities at police officers who kept the crowds from impeding a busy interstate highway near downtown. For several hours, the No Kings protesters antagonized the police, overturned garbage receptacles, and at one point moved police barricades stored in an alley onto a downtown street to block traffic. Several protesters were arrested after the large crowd refused to obey orders to remain out of the streets and to disperse. The release of liability included within the fundraising drive is likely a recognition that these No King's Day events will prove to be as chaotic as some of those carried out in June. Got that, folks? They're violent, they're riotous, they're mostly not students. This is all paid for, organized. People are moved to various locations throughout the country to draw attention and to create big crowds. This is not a bottom-up, spontaneous move. I'll be right back. We're coming upon the 250th birthday of the United States, and it has me thinking, what will America look like 250 years from now? My friends at the Heritage Foundation want to know what you think. What policies should America prioritize? What principles should carry us into the decades ahead? As America enters a new golden age, Heritage recognizes that this is the time to take stock and to be intentional about how we shape the future of America. And they can't do it without your input. So please go to heritage.org/LEVIN and let let them know what you think is important. Without patriots like you stepping up and speaking up for what you believe in, America as we know it can't survive for another 250 years. Please go to heritage.org/Levin, heritage.org/Levin. Take the survey on America's future. This survey takes less than 10 minutes to complete, but it is critical for making sure that the America we pass on to future generations is an America we're proud of. Go to heritage.org/Levin today. That's heritage.org/Levin. Paid for by the Heritage Foundation.
Mark Levin, America's tyranny hunter. Call in now, 877-381-3811.
Well, I must call out Hakeem Jeffries, the feckless Democrat leader in the House of Representatives, feckless in every respect. And remember when Congressman Michael Lawler got in his face? Oh, yes, Hakeem kind of lost it, didn't really respond. Well, now Hakeem is attacking Caroline Leavitt. Caroline Leavitt is a young woman. She isn't even 30 yet. Smart as hell, quick as hell, substantive as hell. And he's trashing Caroline Leavitt. Misogynist is what I would say, Mr. Producer. Misogynist. He's very upset with the way she characterized him and the Democrat Party, supporting Hamas and violent criminals and so forth and so on. But isn't it true, America? Oh, it's quite true. Very true. That's what that party stands for. In fact, I said so. I believe it was my monologue on Saturday. Here's Representative Hakeem Jeffries, the feckless Democrat leader. Cut 14, go.
And then you got Caroline Leavitt, who's sick. She's out of control. And I'm not sure whether she's just demented, ignorant, stone cold liar, or all of the above.
Oh, wow. Wow, attacking a young woman. Attacking a young woman. Tough guy. Tough guy. At first, he was talking about AOC, quite frankly. That, to me, is a fine description of AOC. That's right, Sandy. Sandy was a bartender. She tended bar. That's what that means. Nothing wrong with that, by the way. That's just the only thing she ever did. I just want to point that out. Now she wants to run the country. She didn't even run the bar. Go ahead.
But the notion that an official White House spokesperson would say that the Democratic Party consists of terrorists, violent criminals, and undocumented immigrants, this makes no sense.
It makes a lot of sense to me. What she's saying is they support them. They support Hamas. Ask Tlaib. Ask Omar. Ask AOC. Ask Mamdani. Oh, yeah. See, these people are being called out and they don't like it. No, she's right. 100% right. Violent criminals? Of course they do. They oppose deportation. Deportation includes violent criminals. And they support Soros prosecutors who don't want to prosecute violent criminals. Undocumented immigrants, that's their bread and butter. That's right. That's their bread and butter. Undocumented immigrants, a.k.a. illegal aliens, as we used to call them. No, they're undocumented immigrants. Undocumented. Oh, okay. Mm-hmm. So for now on, you tax frauds out there, you're just an undocumented taxpayer. What do you think of that, Mr. Producer? An undocumented taxpayer. Don't you dare call me a tax cheat. It's just undocumented taxpayer. That's what I am. Go ahead.
That this is what the American people are getting from the Trump administration in the middle of a shutdown. So that
now, this a-hole voted to shut it down, quote unquote. He voted for it. Now, how do these guys, they get away with it because of the press and because they have absolutely no morals whatsoever. They get up there complaining about a shutdown they voted for. They voted for this, and then they're complaining about it. You federal workers out there who are going to miss paychecks but still required to work, you can thank them. They're the ones who are doing this, and they're doing it purposely. We don't have to use Washington logic. We don't have to use the media logic. We know what the hell's going on here. They figure they'll get through this with the help of the corrupt media, the Al Jazeera, Pravda, American media. I mean, after all, they lied on behalf of Hamas. They're going to lie on behalf of the Democrats. Not a lot of difference among some of them, I would argue. Like Mamdani. Go ahead.
To speak for themselves.
Shut up, you idiot. And he is an idiot. He's an idiot. Now, this debate last night with Mamdani and Cuomo and Sliwa. First of all, the mediator was a complete moron. Complete moron. She didn't hit him hard. She could have hit him hard. She didn't want to hit him hard. But here's Mamdani. He's very upset because Cuomo can't name a single mosque. Can't name a single mosque, so he's disqualified, you see, to be mayor of New York because he can't name a single mosque in New York. Well, that's a disqualifier, don't you think, Mr. Producer? It's got to be. Cut 20, go.
You know, it took Andrew Cuomo being beaten by a Muslim candidate in the Democratic primary for him to set foot in a mosque. He had more than 10 years, and he couldn't name a single mosque at the last debate we had.
So what? So what? So what? Go ahead.
What Muslims want in this city is what every community wants and deserves. They want equality and they want respect. And it took me to get you to even see those Muslims as part of this city.
Okay, what does this have to do with Muslims? You're an Islamist, jihadist. There are many Muslims, in fact, many Palestinians who have condemned Hamas. They had to twist both your arms out of your sockets until last night you actually said something negative about Hamas. You don't represent Muslims. You represent jihadi Islamists. That's who you are. That's what you represent. That's what your daddy is. That's what your mommy is. That's exactly right. You embrace the terrorist wing of Islamism. You don't speak for Muslims. Go ahead.
Frankly, is something that is shameful and is why so many New Yorkers have lost faith in this politics.
So many New Yorkers have lost faith in this politics. This guy has the ability to use propaganda, and he does it very smoothly because he's been trained at it. If you're a Marxist or Islamist or both, you're trained to do this. And so all the problems in society, you can fix, but for Cuomo. You can fix, but for Trump. You can fix, but for capitalism. You can fix, but for this and but for that. That is typical of Marxists, by the way. That is, they preach and promise the impossible and compare it to reality. And so my problem is people don't know how to debate a guy like this. I do know how to debate a guy like this, which is precisely why he has ducked us how many times now, Mr. Producer? Seriously. At least 5 or 6 times. He won't come on this program. 5 or 6 times. He won't come on this program. Because he knows I know who he is, I know what he is, I know what he's saying, and I know how to unravel it. Let's make one last desperate effort to get this guy on the program. We're out all over New York City, all over the state of New York, all over the country. Have a bigger audience than he's ever had. Ever. Ever. Let's go to cut 21, please. Go.
I've said time and again that I recognize Israel's right to exist. I've said that I will not recognize any state. I said that I will not.
As a Jewish state.
If I would be allowed to finish, that I would not recognize any state's right to exist with a system of hierarchy on the basis of race or religion.
Really? Really? So there goes the Vatican, right, Mr. Producer? And what about all these Muslim countries? He doesn't mention any of them. How come? How come? Israel was founded as a Jewish state. That's what Zionism is all about. The Holy Land, the birth of the Jewish religion. That's why he won't mention that it's a Jewish state. That's what it is. The Vatican is a Catholic state. That's what it is. These Muslim countries are Muslim countries. That's what they are. He is a hate-on for Israel and a hate-on for Jews, except for the Jews that support him. The self-hating, moronic, suicidal Jews, of which there are not many, but too many, who support this rabid Jew hater. And that's the truth. Affordability. Affordability is a word. Exactly what economic process will he put in place to ensure affordability? He will ensure shortages. He will ensure impoverishment. He will ensure economic dislocation. He will ensure that businesses and wealthy people leave. They won't be available to tax. And so whoever's left and whatever's left is going to have a beatdown. They're going to have a beatdown. They're going to pay. And this guy will keep railing against the system. It's the system, don't you know? It's the entrenched billionaires while they take their private flights. While they have a marriage with bodyguards and security guards behind a wall in a multi-million-dollar mansion in the middle of Uganda. Oh, yeah. Go ahead, please.
Clear. And part of that is because I'm an American who believes in the importance of equal rights being enshrined in every single country, whether we're speaking about Israel or whether we're speaking about Saudi Arabia.
Equal rights enshrined in every single country? This jackass won't condemn Hamas? Tell me, where are equal rights enshrined, no offense, in any Muslim country? Name one. In any Arab country? Name one. Where are the democracies in the Middle East? Name one. Qatar gave his mother millions of dollars to produce films. Is that the equality he's talking about? Qatar enslaves foreign workers. He doesn't mention that. Why not? Why not? Maybe he hasn't been in any mosques lately. Certainly not overseas. He's a fraud. He's a liar. And as you can see, if I had been there, the punchback would have been unbelievable. Don't you think, Mr. Producer? I would have had a blast with this guy. He's not that smart. He's just not. Go ahead.
And you can lie all you want, but New Yorkers know.
We have the question. We don't support Israel.
He's right. Cuomo's right. More when I return. I'll be right back.
Mark Levin.
Folks, I have a question for you. Do you believe America's best days are still ahead? With the 250th anniversary of the signing of the Declaration of Independence coming up in less than a year, my friends at the Heritage Foundation are taking stock of the current situation, and they need your input. They've launched a survey on America's future to gauge how Americans feel right now about where we are as a nation and where we're headed in the next 250 years. You know, for decades, your American values have been under attack, but now, with President Trump's administration in office, we have an opportunity to turn the tide and usher in a new golden age for America. But the Heritage Foundation needs to hear from you. What policies do patriots like you most care about? What do you believe are the defining principles of America? What legacy do you believe we should pass on to the next generation? Please visit heritage.org/Levin today and share your feedback and help shape the future of America. That's heritage.org/LEVIN. Paid for by the Heritage Foundation. Zohran Mamdani at the debate last night. Yeah. Let's see. Let's go to cut 22, Mr. Producer. Go.
You were asked if Hamas should lay down its weapons, key to the peace plan and ceasefire. And some say they found your answer confusing. You said, quote, I don't really have opinions about the future of Hamas and Israel beyond the question of justice and safety and the fact that anything has to abide by international law. And that applies to Hamas and that applies to the Israeli military. So for the voters tuning in tonight, Mr. Mamdani, what do you believe about Hamas and how lasting peace will be achieved? We know it's a complicated matter, but we'd like you to keep your answer to a minute if you could.
Of course, I believe that they should lay down their arms. I'm proud to be one of the first elected officials.
That's the first one to say it. First time he said it, because his back is against the wall. He's a liar. The man is a liar. And remember, I wrote in my book on power how imams, particularly one so-called scholar in 1965, Kaduk, he said that you should lie when you're in the West, you should lie to the West in order to advance their fundamentalist ideology. That is exactly what Mamdani is doing, because it took him right to this debate to finally say what he said, which means he doesn't mean it. Go ahead.
Who called for a ceasefire. And calling for a ceasefire means seizing fire. That means all parties have to cease fire and put down their weapons.
See, it's always a relativism. Israel, you see. Ladies and gentlemen, Israel's a democracy. Israel was attacked. Israel's trying to defend itself. Hamas has murdered Jews constantly. That's in their mission statement. They're part of the Muslim Brotherhood. They want to destroy the West and the United States. Israel wants to be left alone. But this time, they didn't sue for peace or a ceasefire. They decided they're going to take out Hamas, Hezbollah, Iran, and everybody else that's trying to murder them. And this jackass, this pathetic moron, he keeps drawing a moral equivalency between the state of Israel, democracy, and Hamas, a terrorist organization. A terrorist organization. That would be like drawing a moral equivalency between us here in the United States and Al-Qaeda that attacked us, or the Taliban. He's sympathetic to these movements. He's sympathetic to them. Caroline Levitt is 100% correct. 100% correct. And these individuals are with the Democrat Party. They got the nomination of the Democrat Party. And if he's elected, he'll be elected because of the Democrats in New York City, not the Republicans, not the conservatives. So to look at all this and then pretend otherwise is to commit suicide as a nation. The Democrat Party's all in America. This isn't the base. This is the Democrat Party. I'll be right back. This segment of the podcast is exclusively sponsored by Pure Talk. Pure Talk offers great coverage and can save your family money on your wireless bill every single month. Go to puretalk.com to find the plan that's right for you. Thank you again for listening, and thank you so much for this sponsorship, Pure Talk.
He's here. He's here. Now, broadcasting from the underground command post, deep in the bowels of a hidden bunker, somewhere under the brick and steel of a nondescript building, we've once again made contact with our leader, Mark Levin.
Hello, America. Mark Levin here. Our number, 877-381-3811, 877-381-3811. We'll be taking calls in hour 3 at the bottom of the hour. So I have a question. The Hill newspaper, Alexander Bolton, Democrats block defense spending bill as shutdown tensions rise. There have been 11 votes in the so-called shutdown. And the Republicans said, hey, look, we know you want to deal with this health care stuff. Let's vote, pass the continuing resolution, and then we will immediately vote on your health care proposal. And you know what they've told the Republicans? No, we want the outcome that we want. We want you to extend Obamacare benefits well beyond a year. Now, keep something in mind. They controlled Congress last year, and they only extended Obamacare benefits, that is, increased benefits to fund it, for 1 year. That's what the Democrats did. And that 1 year's not even up. So the Republicans are saying, we may have to do more than that. We may have to kind of gut this thing and start over or something. No, we want additional monies to extend it. And we want it now, or we're not going to vote to fund the Defense Department. That is basically military personnel. We're not going to vote to fund the airline, the traffic controllers. We're not going to vote to fund the TSA. We want as much anarchy, inconvenience as possible because we're blaming this stuff on you Republicans. You got it? That's what's going on. Senate Democrats voted yesterday to block the annual full-year defense appropriation bill. Despite that measure passing out of committee with strong bipartisan support earlier this year. So all the Democrats who voted for it in the committee now voted against it on the floor of the Senate. Got it? The Senate voted 50-44 against proceeding to the bill after Senate Democratic leader Schumer objected to considering the defense bill without also voting on the annual labor, health, and human service appropriation bill. That is, they insist on their answer. And by the way, they want to fund Medicaid for illegal aliens, and they want to fund Medicaid for able-bodied Americans. So this is the $1.5 trillion that they want spent. And if they can't spend it, they're going to vote no on individual spending clauses and blame the Republicans. And, of course, they know that their media is going to help them try and get away with this. You understand? 3 Senate Democrats voted to advance the measure. Catherine Cortez Masto of Nevada, John Fetterman of Pennsylvania, and Jeanne Shaheen of New Hampshire. Now, Fetterman, the Democrat Party in Pennsylvania, which is controlled by Josh Shapiro, another phony moderate, they're looking for a strong candidate from their perspective to defeat Fetterman in the Democrat primary. That's what they're trying to do now. Now, Fetterman votes with the Democrats 85% of the time. But on certain things like immigration, law and order, the government, Israel, he's independent. He's moderate. He says, look, I put my country first and the citizens first. The party is behind that. And I've told you before, for the Democrat Party, it's like the Communist Party. That is, the Communist Party. That's who you owe your allegiance to. The Democrat Party, not the country. I like Fetterman a lot. I really do. A lot. Cortez Masto and Fetterman have previously voted for the House-passed bill to reopen the government. Shaheen has been at the center of talks with Republican colleagues about finding a deal to end the shutdown, such as it is. So that's what's going on here. 2 weeks ago, when Democrats chose to take the federal government hostage for partisan priorities, says Mitch McConnell, I warned that there would be nothing to gain from this shutdown. Today, our colleagues' refusal even to begin considering the overwhelmingly bipartisan defense appropriation bill is a sobering reminder that there is, however, much to lose, he said in a statement. It would have provided $171 billion for the procurement of weapon systems, $141 billion for research, development, and testing of platforms. And the Democrats voted no. No. Senate Majority Leader John Thune, and by the way, he's a very good majority leader, and he's fighting like hell. Threw a curveball into negotiations, they write, over ending the shutdown Wednesday when he teed up the full-year funding bill for the defense of our country, surprising Democrats and daring them to vote against a measure that would allow military service members to be paid. Several centrist members of the Democratic caucus, they don't mean centrist, they mean liberal versus Marxist, were on the fence about voting to proceed on the defense bill while they were awaiting word on whether it would be paired with a labor bill. I'm still trying to determine what the plan is. If the plan is to bring forth as a substitute, whatever. So Mark Warner, Virginia, has voted against opening the government, such as it is. Tim Kaine has voted against it, Virginia, just so you know. Now, they can blame the Democrats all they want. The voting record is out there. There's roll call votes. Now, this $852 billion defense appropriations bill passed out of the committee by the vote of 26-3. And now they can't get it passed on the floor of the Senate. It provides a 3.8% pay raise for all service members. You know, Sanders voted against it while he spent over $500,000 on private jets. Mr. Man of the People, Mr. Marxist, Mr. Anti-Billionaires, Mr. Anti-Oligarch. Now, the president, Trump, over the weekend said he has directed Secretary of War Pete Hegseth to use all available funds to ensure members of the military get paid during the shutdown. And so there's Trump fighting like hell to make sure you get paid. Yeah. The vote on the defense bill followed an earlier vote on the House. The House passed continuing resolution to fund the government through November 21. Senate Democrats have now defeated that 11 times. 11 times. And then they go on TV with supportive hosts, supported anchors, supported phony journalists, talking about how they want to open the government. They really do. But it's the Republicans' fault because they're cutting health care. Right. They don't want to fund health care for illegals and able-bodied Americans without them working 20 hours a week. That is, the able-bodied Americans. That's them cutting Medicaid. You believe that? $200 billion for illegal alien health care. Be better than yours. That's what the Democrats are fighting for. That's the sword they're falling on. I want you to listen. This is important to understand. You see, Mamdani is not an outlier. Sanders is not an outlier. Tlaib, Omar, AOC, they're not outliers. The Democrat Party has become exactly what those people are, ideologically. That's what the Democrat Party is. I see these a-holes, these morons, they go on TV. They work for Obama, they work for Biden. And they spin everything. They spin it because they're dead-enders. They are Democrat dead-enders no matter what. I've opposed Republicans for the Senate and the House when I find them unsupportable, but that's not the case with these Democrats. Now, some of them may not endorse Mamdani. Most of them have. They'll just be quiet, but that's not good enough either. I've called out Rand Paul. He's a moron in many respects. I've called out others, and I'll continue to do so. Yeah. It takes principles. It takes a belief system. It takes values to do that. But this is what's going on. I'll be right back.
Mark Levin.
Our society works because of the freedoms guaranteed by the First Amendment. Everyday Americans should be able to speak openly and honestly about family and traditional values without retribution from the government. And that's a principle Pure Talk proudly supports. They sponsor my show, which allows me to stand strong behind the microphone every day and share the truth with you. If you want to support brands that defend freedom and pro-American values, I strongly encourage you to switch your wireless service to Pure Talk. You're going to get great 5G coverage on an extremely reliable and secure network, and with plans from just $25 a month, you'll save a ton of money. And Pure Talk also believes in creating American jobs and supporting America's small businesses. So if you're a small business owner, you can save even more while enjoying white glove service. Stand with the companies who share your values. Go to puretalk.com/Levin. That's puretalk.com/Levin to switch to my favorite wireless company right now, Pure Talk, and you'll save an additional 50% off your first month. Again, puretalk.com/Levin. Make the switch, folks. Make it today. Let's get a Mamdani supporter to call the program. Don't be a faker. Don't be a fraud. I'll figure that out quick, and I'll hang up on you. Nobody's going to know. And one of the questions I have is, why am I supposed to hate billionaires? What's that all about? So we want a Mamdani supporter to call. I'm encouraging you to call. Tell us why I'm supposed to hate billionaires. And if we can get past that, then I want you to tell us how you're going to make things more affordable. That's simple. It's not hard. It's what they keep talking about. They want you to hate billionaires. You know, they're using that Saul Alinsky tactic to personalize it and target it and just keep hitting away. Okay, we got it. You hate billionaires, and we're supposed to hate billionaires too, and then we're supposed to go vote for you. So explain to us why we're supposed to hate billionaires as a group. Maybe there's one here and there, but as a group, why are we supposed to hate billionaires? I need to know. Then I want to know how you're going to make things affordable. He's running on affordability. That's his big word. I'd like to know how he's going to make things affordable. Okay? It's not hard. I've got other questions, too. If we can get past those two, it's going to be fun. Right, Mr. Producer? What's wrong with those questions? You got to hate billionaires. Hey, the billionaires. And they're going to make things affordable. I mean, with free public transportation and so forth, and city-run food, grocery stores. That's going to make things affordable. That's what they say. So I want to pursue this. Now, if we can get past that, I got more questions like, why would I prefer socialism over capitalism? Economic socialism over capitalism. Why should I prefer that over capitalism? If we can get past the first two questions. I've got more questions after that. But those three have been teed up. We'll start with the one. Why am I supposed to hate billionaires? If we can get through that, then we'll go to the next one. How is Mamdani going to make things affordable for the people of New York City? If we can get through that one, then I want to know why we're supposed to prefer socialism over capitalism. See if we can get to that one. I think that's fair enough, don't you, Mr. Producer? I believe so, too. By the way, as the Jewish News Service reports, a Gazan monster who took part in October 7 attack caught hiding in Louisiana. Muhammad Amin Yaqub al-Matadi, 33, a native of the Gaza Strip, who's been living in Lafayette, Louisiana, was arrested on Thursday and charged with being involved in the Hamas-led terrorist attacks in southern Israel on October 7th, says the U.S. Department of Justice. Pam Bondi said, after hiding out in the U.S., this monster has been found and charged with participating in the atrocities of October 7th, the single deadliest day for Jewish people since the Holocaust. While nothing can fully heal the scars left by Hamas's brutal attack, this department's Joint Task Force on October 7 is dedicated to finding and prosecuting those responsible for that horrific day. It's like tracking down Nazis. Am I right, Mamdani? Including the murder of dozens of American citizens. We will continue to stand by Jewish Americans and Jewish people around the world against anti-Semitism and terrorism in all its forms. And here you got this guy, Mamdani, who can't say that, and he won't say that. Danny Danon, the Israeli ambassador to the UN, told JNS that this individual, who has blood on his hands, lied on his visa application to enter the U.S. The federal government alleges he sprang into action October 7 when he saw Hamas's barbaric attack on Israel and its civilians from multiple nations. The Louisiana resident armed himself, recruited additional marauders, and then entered Israel, where there's evidence placing him near one of the worst hit Israeli communities, stated John Eisenberg, Assistant U.S. Attorney for National Security. Al-Matadi committed fraud and obtained a visa to the United States where he hoped to remain undetected. This arrest is the first public step in bringing to justice those responsible for harming Americans on that day. I notice Mamdani doesn't mention that either. Very busy. Do we have any calls yet on this, Mr. Producer? No. Wow. Considering the reach of this program, I would think a Mamdani supporter would want to come on and explain their hero's agenda. All I asked is, why are we supposed to hate billionaires? That's all. Then I asked about affordability. How's that going to work? Then I asked, why would we support socialism over capitalism? Now, I would think if you're a Mamdani supporter, if you're going to vote for him, you could answer those three basic questions. I mean, I have 1,000 of them, but those are just three. We'll start with one. Hopefully we can overcome that. Now, the complaint against this mass murder states that he phone operated using a cell tower near Kibbutz Kfar Aza near the Gaza border, a location of a horrifying massacre by Hamas and its supporters, resulting in the deaths of many civilians, including at least 4 American citizens. In addition, he allegedly provided false information in the U.S. visa application relating to his involvement with a paramilitary organization, connection to Hamas, participation in terrorist attack, and military training. He entered the U.S. on September 12, 2024. The Justice Department said the FBI's New Orleans field office is also investigating with valuable assistance from Israeli authorities. Named several Israeli authorities, including its security agency. The FBI office in Israel, the Louisiana State Police, U.S. Customs and Border Protection, and so forth and so on, are all providing assistance in this. Zachary Keller, U.S. Attorney for the Western District of Louisiana, stated that October 7 is a day that lives in infamy for so many, Gentile and Jew alike, but apparently not jihadist and Islamists like Mamdani, because of the terrorist attack on Israel that began a wave of anti-Semitic violence in this country and around the world. It's funny, not a single question to this bastard. What are you going to do as the mayor of New York to fight anti-Semitism? What are you going to do to protect the Jews at the universities and colleges in your city? What are you going to do? Not one question about any of that. Not one question. You and I know what's going to happen in New York. You and I know what's going to happen. And yet people will vote for him. And I bet you a lot of the people who vote for him have plans on leaving or will leave, if necessary. You've got hard-working blue-collar people. You've got small business people, whether they're in the Diamond District, whether they own a pizza parlor, whatever, maybe they own a deli. You got people who work for these guys and gals, and they're all going to be so negatively affected. And all the free buses and free subways, they're not going to want to touch them. You know why, Mr. Producer? Because of all the riffraff that's going to go to those buses and into the subways. And there won't be enough cops to remove them, and the cops won't even be allowed to remove them. I've seen this all over the country. I've seen it in Kensington, part of Philadelphia. It's a disaster. You're going to have people using drugs. He wants to legalize prostitution. You're going to see what happened at Times Square. It's going to become a hellhole all over the city, all throughout public transportation. But don't worry, it's going to be free. I'll be right back. Our society works because of the freedoms guaranteed by the First Amendment. Everyday Americans should be able to speak openly and honestly about family and traditional values without retribution from the government. And that's a principle Pure Talk proudly supports. They sponsor my show, which allows me to stand strong behind the microphone every day and share the truth with you. If you want to support brands that defend freedom and pro-American values, I strongly encourage you to switch your wireless service to Pure Talk. You're going to get great 5G coverage on an extremely reliable and secure network, and with plans from just $25 a month, you'll save a ton of money. And Pure Talk also believes in creating American jobs and supporting America's small businesses. So if you're a small business owner, you can save even more while enjoying white glove service. Stand with the companies who share your values. Go to puretalk.com/Levin. That's puretalk.com/Levin to switch to my favorite wireless company right now, Pure Talk, and you'll save an additional 50% off your first month. Again, puretalk.com/Levin. Make the switch, folks. Make it today.
Mark Levin, a proud fanatic for the Constitution. Call him now at 877-381-3811.
Two really wonderful shows you're going to love, I'm sure, on Life, Liberty, and Levin this week, and brand new, fresh off the presses. Saturday, my opening statement, and for the rest of the hour, full hour, Victor Davis Hanson. I want to do more of these long-form interviews after an opening statement with one really special guest. We'll start that off with Victor Davis Hanson. Can't do it all the time, but I want to do it more. And that's how I began the program several years ago. And then Sunday, a fantastic show with Ben Dominique and Brett Baer. I haven't had Brett Baer in a long time in my opening statement as well. So I tried to take on the big issues. I spend many, many hours preparing my opening statement. Nobody writes anything for me. Nobody edits anything for me. I don't have any teleprompters. I just do my thing. And so I appreciate when you show up. Don't forget to set your DVRs. 8 p.m. Eastern Saturday, 8 p.m. Eastern Sunday, Fox Life, Liberty, and Levin. Not every Friday, but often on Fridays, Friday evenings, there's breaking news. Some of it's big, some of it's kind of big, some of it's small, but it's always interesting. And I have some for you now. Remember George Santos, the congressman? President Trump commuted his sentence. George Santos was somewhat of a rogue, but there are many rogues throughout our country that aren't forced to serve 7 years in prison. I started to think about George and the subject of Democrat Senator Richard Denang Dick Blumenthal came up again. As everyone remembers, Denang Dick stated for almost 20 years that he was a proud Vietnam veteran, having endured the worst of the war, watching the wounded and dead as he raced up the hills and down the valleys, blood streaming from his face. He was a great hero. He would leak to any and all who would listen. And then it happened. He was a complete and total fraud. He never went to Vietnam. He never saw Vietnam. He never experienced the battles there or anywhere else. His war hero status and even minimal service in our military was totally and completely made up. This is far worse than what George Santos did, and at least Santos had the courage, conviction, and intelligence to always vote Republican. George has been in solitary confinement for long stretches of time. By all accounts, has been horribly mistreated. Therefore, I just signed a commutation releasing George Santos from prison immediately. Good luck, George. Have a great life. There you go. That's breaking news. Just happened. Again at JNS, Jewish News Service, U.S. evangelical leader calls to shut down Candace Owens and Tucker Carlson. And by the way, this is a growing movement in courageous evangelical churches across the country. My dear friend, Pastor Hagee, and this pastor, Larry Hutch, and there are many others. Many others. A prominent American evangelical leader said on Thursday that the faith-based Christian community needs to take a more verbal stand against anti-Semitism and to shut down people like right-wing political commentators and podcasters, Candace Owens and Tucker Carlson, who often feed into the hatred of Jews and Israel. The unequivocal remarks come at a time when polls have been showing a drop in support for Israel among young evangelicals due to the fallout from Israel's 2-year war with Hamas in Gaza, and follow the September 10 assassination of Charlie Kirk, who was a major advocate for Israel. He said, we need to be more verbal and take a more open stand against anti-Semitism, shutting down people like Candace Owens and Tucker Carlson, who call themselves Christians, and whose strategy is to divide the Christian community from standing with Israel, said Pastor Larry Hutch, founder and senior pastor of the Dallas-based New Beginnings Church. And this is what he said in an interview to JNS in Jerusalem. This avalanche of anti-Semitism has to stop now. The 74-year-old conservative pastor, who's won accolades for his staunch support for Israel over the years, said that he sensed a great awakening happening in the United States among young conservatives following Kirk's assassination. He said, coupled with the strong support for Israel voiced by U.S. President Donald Trump during his recent visit to Jerusalem, he opined that these trends could turn the tide back in favor of Israel among the traditionally supportive conservative evangelical community that makes up the backbone of the Republican Party. He said Charlie Kirk was very pro-Israel no matter what Tucker Carlson and Candace Owens say. Their whole false narrative is backfiring against them. He added, suggesting that one should follow their financial sponsors. He said the moment the bullet hit Charlie Kirk, it didn't extinguish the light, but exploded it into millions of sparks that have hit the souls of people all over the world. The devil woke a sleeping giant, and a massive army is being raised up for America and for Israel. Still, the evangelical leader concurred that Israel's PR failure during the war, coupled with heavily negative media coverage of the humanitarian situation in Gaza, is shaking even traditional bastions of support, such as the conservative evangelical community. He said, we need to very loudly educate the world to defeat the false propaganda against the nation of Israel. I know we are pastors, but this is what God has called us to do. Pastor Hutch noted that through his global ministry in 7 churches in the United States and Australia, he would speak up, quote, louder than ever before, in both refuting replacement theology and working to teach Christians the biblical truth about the land of Israel, including its history, archaeology, and politics. Very broadly, replacement theology is being pushed as a Christian belief system, as part of the Christian faith. That Christianity replaced Judaism. That's not what the Bible says. That's not what true believers believe, people of deep faith. They believe that Christianity grew out of Judaism and that one needs the other. The evangelical leader, who said he would be meeting with a group of American Jews in L.A. soon following his return from Israel, said it was essential for Jewish community leaders in the United States to join forces in the fight against the world's oldest hatred, even if they don't see eye to eye on domestic issues. He said, we need to wake up the Jewish community so they know that millions of Christians stand with you, and together we can defeat this darkness called anti-Semitism. I don't think there's another host in the world, let alone on radio in the United States, who's been fighting this more vigorously than I, Mr. Producer. Day in and day out. Because I know where this leads. I know where it leads in the Jewish community, in the Christian community. I know where it leads in the West. And we have here a coalition and collusion with the Marxists, the Islamists, Jew haters, America haters, Christian haters. We have grifters, self-promoters, who are using our faiths to try and divide us and against us. That is exactly what's taking place. It is enormously dangerous. It's happening right now. It's happening in New York with Mamdani. It's happening with Qatar and Owens. And pardon me, Bannon. It's happening with their surrogates. It's happening with others whose names I can't remember off the top of my head. And some who give them cover. But not here. Here we speak the truth. Here we take them on. That's what we do. It's what I'll always do until it's over. Until it's over. Either I'm done or the career's done or both of us are done. I'll be right back.
Mark Levin.
Our society works because of the freedoms guaranteed by the First Amendment. Everyday Americans should be able to speak openly and honestly about family and traditional values without retribution from the government. And that's a principle Pure Talk proudly supports. They sponsor my show, which allows me to stand strong behind the microphone every day and share the truth with you. If you want to support brands that defend freedom and pro-American values, I strongly encourage you to switch your wireless service to Pure Talk. You're going to get great 5G coverage on an extremely reliable and secure network, and with plans from just $25 a month, you'll save a ton of money. And Pure Talk also believes in creating American jobs and supporting America's small businesses. So if you're a small business owner, you can save even more while enjoying white glove service. Stand with the companies who share your values. Go to puretalk.com/Levin. That's puretalk.com/Levin to switch to my favorite wireless company right now, Pure Talk, and you'll save an additional 50% off your first month. Again, puretalk.com/Levin. Make the switch, folks. Make it today. Now, you gotta love the New York Post. First of all, their stories are great. Absolutely great. Their headlines are even better. But it's like two things are intermixed every time you're reading the news there, Mr. Producer, at least online. Women in bathing suits or gowns. Have you noticed that? Or sports news. It's kind of all intermixed, which makes it actually very intriguing. I don't mean the women in bathing suits. In other words, it's not... I guess when you get the paper, it's like broken down into strict sections, but when you read it online, it's not that way. It's like, oops, wait a minute, that woman's half naked. But anyway, why am I bringing it up? Because that's what I do. I look at these different sites, you know. Breitbart, Mamdani falsely accuses Israel of genocide 3 times in the New York City mayor debate. I despise this guy. I really despise this guy. He's a Hamasian. He really is. And there he is running for mayor. New York Times are trying to cover his ass. New York Daily News is trying to cover his ass. You got Democrat operatives, Democrat millionaires trying to cover his ass. You have left-wing various ethnic minorities, including Jews, trying to protect this guy. He's the real deal, America. He's the real enemy within. Democrat Party nominee Zohran Mamdani falsely accused Israel of genocide 3 times in Thursday night's debate in the race for New York City mayor, writes the great Joel Pollack. I was horrified by the genocide of Palestinians, he said, explaining why he left his ballot blank in the 2024 Democratic presidential primary. The reason for a cease... What does that have to do with anything? Ladies and gentlemen, he's not a member of the Democrat Party. He's a member of something called the Democratic Socialists. This is the other thing, this kind of swindle that's taking place here. The reason for a ceasefire in Gaza was for the end of the genocide, he said, and backtracking on his earlier refusal not to call for Hamas to lay down its weapons, adding that Israel was guilty of apartheid. How is it he uses how is Israel guilty of apartheid? The Arabs live in there, the Christians live in there, the Jews live in there, all the others live in there. Apartheid, maybe he ought to look at his faith. Maybe he ought to look at his background. Maybe he ought to look at the Muslim and the Arab countries. How many Jews are there? How many Christians are there? How many Buddhists are there? How many Hindus are there? How many atheists are there? How many agnostics are there? Huh? How about it? Sleazeball. And the guy goes on. Doesn't matter how many military experts, statistical experts, whether they're from the Wharton School or West Point, who explain what's taking place in Gaza, who's responsible for killing whom. Doesn't matter. Because Mamdani is, in fact, a Hamasian. That's right, I said it. Write it, media. Write it. I could care less. That's what he is. I played for you last night a Palestinian activist. No friend of mine, I'm sure he hates my guts, who was highly critical of Mamdani and his refusal to speak out when he was interviewed by Martha McCullum, who did a great job when he was interviewed. And he wouldn't, 3 damn different times, as I recall. He wouldn't condemn them or talk about them laying down their weapons. Obviously, they started to whisper in Mamdani's ear. Look, Zohran, if that is your name, Zohran, you can lie, it's okay. The great Imam, Yabba Dabba Doo, he said you can lie. Say whatever you have to say. Remember, it's the West. They're the enemy. We're out to defeat them. You're within an eyelash of becoming the mayor of New York City. Can you believe this? We fooled all these bastards. Yes, we fooled them all. Well, except for a handful of them like Levin, but we fooled the others. He doesn't matter. He's not a radical loon Democrat resident of New York City. It's okay. We fooled him. You can say whatever you need to say. Remember the great Imam, his famous words. Lie like a rug. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. We've got to defeat the West. And here you have the possibility, in fact, maybe even the certainty, being the mayor of the biggest city in the United States with the largest Jewish population. Imagine the irony. Imagine the irony. Oh, yes. And so here we are. Israel's an apartheid state, he says. Israel's a genocidal government, he says. Uses all the language. All the language of the usual Hamasites and the other Jew haters. And he hates America too. Remember I said he's a Marxist Islamist. He will destroy New York City. He will destroy New York City like we've never seen before. You're going to have more homeless, more illegal aliens in your city in New York and you can take a stick at. And yeah, you'll have your free public transportation. You'll have your urine, you'll have your defecation, you'll have your crime. No cops. We'll be right back.
He's here. Now, broadcasting from the underground command post, deep in the bowels of a hidden bunker, somewhere under the brick and steel of a nondescript building, we've once again made contact with our leader, Mark Levin.
Hello, America. Mark Levin here. Our number, 877-381-3811. Hello, 877-381-3811. We'll take calls at the bottom of the hour. I mentioned last night that over the weekend, on Saturday and Sunday, during my Fox programs, I'd done opening statements warning about Hamas, warning about the ideology of the Islamists and the jihadists, and that this was going to be a problem. That no agreement is going to change them. In fact, the agreement doesn't even involve them. So just to prove the point that I'm not sitting here blowing smoke, I thought we'd listen in a little bit from Sunday night in my opening statement. Cut 2, go. As you know, President Trump's peace deal is incredible. It is iconic. It's historic. I spent yesterday's monologue explaining why I thought so. And I think this is something that will be discussed for a very, very long time in a very positive way going forward. But I have a suggestion. It's not, nor should it be, the end of the peace process. The greatest danger and threat in the Middle East, which has spread to our country, our hemisphere, other Western nations, Britain, France, you name it, is Islamist terrorism. While it exists beyond the Middle East, the fact is that the Middle East is the hotbed of ideologically centered Islamist terrorism. It's where their so-called scholars are. It's where most of the headquarters are for the worst of the groups. Again, not just there, but there. So until this is addressed, even beyond Hamas, there can't be a permanent peace. I'll prove it to you. I don't see a budget request to eliminate all of our counterterrorism infrastructure, all the personnel and all the funding, nor should there ever be. It remains a deadly threat to we, the people of the United States. Now, to be more specific, until Arab and Muslim countries like Qatar stop funding it, promoting it, and exporting it, and using state-run propaganda operations that are wildly popular throughout the Arab and Muslim worlds like Al Jazeera. Until they stop using them to spread it throughout the Muslim and Arab worlds, the eternal peace we say we want simply will be an illusion, even as we rightly celebrate the release of the Israeli hostages and hopeful cessation of war in the Battle of Gaza. And who should address this? For one, the countries that are harboring these terrorist organizations and the countries that are sustaining them. It's a dirty little secret that several of these countries fear these terror groups, cheer on Israel as it fights Hezbollah and the Houthis and Hamas and Iran. But they seek appeasement. They want to appease them and redirect them toward the West, towards Israel, towards a so-called two-state solution. This is not our battle alone or Israel's battle alone, even though people try and create that scenario. This is the battle between the West and Islamist terrorism. This is the battle between civilization and 7th century primitives. It's not about anything else. Other Arab and Muslim countries actively partner with terrorist groups, while also engaging our country and other Western nations on diplomatic and economic grounds, playing a very sinister and deadly game. And most Western countries seem okay with this, as most of their leaders would rather not confront the evil side of these nations while embracing the benefits of their economic largesse. For example, we see some Middle Eastern countries serve as both perpetrators and mediators. This is the perfect time to put an end to this. The fact that the president effectively, at least for these purposes, unified these countries is probably the most historic aspect of the Trump peace plan. But the time is right with the Trump peace plan to use this historic achievement to go to the next level, to protect us, to protect the West. That is, challenge the root cause of the problem, Islamist terrorism. And to be clear, I believe the only leader who can do this, who is bold, courageous, strategic, and have a real shot at making it work, is President Trump. Our State Department keeps a long list of terrorist organizations and the countries they are operating within. Beyond that, we know where the major actors are based. You can go online and see on the internet. Many very good groups, research groups, think tanks. They've laid it all out. It's right there. Of course, they're not only in the Middle East, these terrorist organizations, but many are. And it's a good place to start, particularly since we have this outstanding foundation, this platform, the Trump peace deal. The president is singularly qualified and capable of extending his diplomatic, economic, and yes, military reach into these countries where he has built special relationships to begin the difficult and complex process of unraveling, starving, isolating, and eliminating these terror operations. Some of these countries will welcome such an initiative, as their monarchies or their military dictatorships fear for their own survival, because these terrorists seek to overthrow several of them. I'm thinking of countries like Jordan and Egypt, among others. Some will resist because they're harboring terrorists or have been funding terrorists or somehow promoting terrorists and have relationships and understanding with terrorists, such as Qatar, such as Saudi Arabia. Yes, name them. There will also be the complexity of decades of cultural and societal indoctrination, which exists all over the Middle East, especially in these Palestinian communities, which is why not a single Arab and or Muslim country would accept a single Palestinian, which is why Egypt, run by Sisi, a military dictator, built a big, tall, wide wall on their border with Gaza to prevent any Palestinians from coming into Egypt. This won't be easy, of course, but nobody's tried. And the Trump peace plan and the work the president and his team have done leading up to it creates the opportunity like never before and may never present itself again. Phase 2 of the Trump peace plan will determine whether Hamas survives, whether Hamas can be disarmed or not, not only now, but into the future, whether Gaza will be effectively demilitarized and so forth. Hamas is a monstrous terrorist organization, like Al-Qaeda that killed 3,000 of our citizens, ISIS, the mothership, the Muslim Brotherhood. The list is long. They're not part of the peace plan. Hezbollah and the Houthis are not part of the peace plan. They remain a dire threat to Israel, to Lebanon, to Yemen, and of course to our country. They've killed hundreds of Americans and they threaten our homeland. We need the help of these new friends and acquaintances, these Arab and Muslim nations. If that's what they are, now's the time. Now's the time for the rubber to hit the road. It's one thing to talk about what Israel should do. It's one thing to talk about Hamas. It's another when these countries look at their own territory, they look at their own policies, they look at their own decisions, and they now have to have skin in the game. It's one thing, again, for them to agree to a peace plan that doesn't strictly involve them, and another to do what we need them to do in this instance. And so we not only understand that the real problem, which is not the West, which is not America, which is not Israel, and confront it by building on the Trump peace plan, taking advantage of the unity the president has developed with these countries, The root of the problem, Islamist terrorism, will not relent, which is precisely why we're not about to disarm, as I said earlier, our counterterrorism infrastructure, are we? No. Because the root of the problem exists. I don't know if it ever can be solved. I don't know. Now's a perfect opportunity to try. That would be eternal peace, if it can be accomplished. Again, I'm not sure it can be. But now that these countries are supposedly aligned with us, are friends with us, now that we've had this huge historic change in the Middle East, I think we need to think bigger. This isn't about Israel, two-state solution. The attack on 9/11 had nothing to do with the two-state solution or Israel. The efforts through immigration and other means to conquer the West has nothing to do with Israel or a two-state solution. This is bigger. It's very important that our leaders understand the ideology and the mindset that we are dealing with. The Arab countries do. The Muslim countries certainly do. Well, if we have this big brotherhood going on right now, let's take advantage of it. The president has built this foundation. He has relationships with these people. It's now or never. All right. That was my position Sunday. It's my position today. It was my position before. And unless that happens, we don't have a shot at this enduring peace. And I mean a shot at it, because these entities are not going to go away unless these Arab and Muslim countries help us extinguish them. And Hamas is one of them. We'll be right back.
Mark Levin.
This is from the Wall Street Journal newspaper. Xi removes China's number 2 general in escalating purge in military leadership. General He Wen, his most senior active duty officer, to be taken down by the Chinese leader's campaign. Now, you know, this guy Xi, he's the general secretary of the Communist Party, which means he runs the country with an iron fist. He's blowing out his top military leaders. He accuses them of corruption. If they look at him the wrong way, if they don't agree with him, if they make a suggestion to him and he doesn't like it, he has them destroyed. Now, he's taken out this guy, but he took out 8 other high-ranking military commanders. It's a crackdown. He claims they're disloyal. Now, if he keeps blowing out military leaders like this, he may not be able to invade Taiwan very easily, I can tell you that. But I'll tell you what, you're on a short leash when you work for these guys, whether it's a Putin or a Xi or a short leash. I'll be right back.
Mark Levin, America's passionately cerebral voice. Talk with that voice now. 877-381-3811.
All right, let's take some calls, shall we? Elon, San Francisco, California, the great KSFO. Go right ahead, please.
How are you doing, sir? Thank you for getting my call. I just spoke to you the other day, and I'm making a point that just tell you a story. This lady that she got burned, a Palestinian lady, she was treated for 5 years in Israel hospital for free, and they saved her. And just the other day, she went into the hospital with a bomb strapped to her body to blow up the hospital people to save her life and took care of her.
Now, slow down. I want the people in America to get this point. This Palestinian woman is burned over most of her body. The Israeli hospitals take her in. They take in anybody and everybody. They save her life. She goes through reconstruction, rehab. She returns to Gaza. She eventually comes back with a bomb to blow up the hospital.
Yes, sir.
It's shocking, and this goes on all the time. All the time. Go right ahead, my friend.
And I didn't see, I'm here in San Francisco, I didn't see those gay and lesbian, go and protest the killing of those innocent people by Hamas, protesting about it. Where are you when they kill their own people,
Yeah, where are the gay and lesbian communities? Where are they?
Waiting for Israel.
In fact, where are the Palestinian communities? Where are the imams? Where's the river to the sea crowd? Where's Mamdani? Where's Talib, Omar, Sanders, the rest of the reprobates? Go right ahead, sir.
And what I'm trying to say, too, it's like I think the biggest problem of it is the head of the snake that it's in Iran, that we should take care of it because they're still supporting them and give power to Hamas, all the terrorists. And I believe they are the one that should be, cut the head of the snake as soon as possible.
Yes, and the people there, the vast majority of them, these are Persian people, want nothing to do with that Islamo-Nazi regime, nothing. And they're busy executing anybody who disagrees with them. They've murdered over 1,000 people since Israel took them out. 1,000 people. And now Hamas is slaughtering people left and right, and the world is absolutely silent. Absolutely silent. All right, Elon, thank you for your call, my friend. Let us continue, shall we? Yes, we can. Let's go to Rick, Kingsley, Pennsylvania, on the Mark Levin app. Rick, how are you, sir?
I'm great, Mr. Levin. How are you, sir?
Very well. Now, you're a farmer. What kind of farmer are you?
I'm a dairy farmer.
Ah. Well, I'm lactose intolerant, but I'll tell you what's interesting. They now have lactose-free milk. They take that enzyme out of there. And lactose-free ice cream. I love that stuff. So they just take the enzyme out. It's still cow's milk.
Yes.
Go right ahead.
Yes. We actually breed for that too.
That's great. Great.
For that. Well, anyway, Bernie Sanders, he's flying around on private jets, and then he turns around and jumps up and down about climate change and blames, the farmer or everybody else but him for causing climate change. And, and
he's an obnoxious old bastard. I'm so sick of that guy. Nobody takes him on. Nobody confronts him. Nobody knows how to debate him. They just, they let him go on and on and on with his asinine ideology. And he's, these guys, they bob and they weave, and I'm sick of it. Him and Mamdani and their ilk.
Yes, sir. And he has the perfect initials too.
Oh yeah, BS. No question about it. All right, my brother. God bless you. Thanks for doing the work most of us won't do. Farming is a tough thing to do, and I have nothing but respect for farmers. As you know, I lived outside of Philadelphia, Cheltenham Township, most of my life, Elkins Park in particular, my family and I. And I would often, as a teenager, we would drive to Atlantic City during the summer, not just the summer, in the fall too, and in the spring too. We loved it. In Ventnor and Margate, and Ocean City, all those great places. And we would drive through places like Vineland, New Jersey, where they had really the greatest tomatoes on the face of the earth. But nonetheless, we would drive by and we would see these fruit and vegetable stands. They're still there. My wife and I still like to take that drive, Route 40. Many of you may know Route 40. We don't take the Atlantic City Expressway. I'm in no mood to take expressways. I like to drive through the towns. Really nice little towns. America. You'll see middle America there in South Jersey. But you see where they grow the peaches and where they grow the tomatoes and the corn and all the rest of it. And these farmers, they break their backs. They work very, very hard. I don't care how much of it is now mechanized. It still is a tremendous amount of work. And sometimes they don't have very good crops. It's a lot of work to harvest and so forth and so on. Just fantastic. And by the way, when we drive down that Route 40, there's also a rodeo place. I've never stopped to watch the rodeo. I've always wanted to. I mean, I've been doing this for 50 years, over 50 years. And I ought to stop at that rodeo someday. We should. We really should. All right, let's continue. Shall we continue, Mr. Producer? I think we should. Let us go to Mike, Maynard, Iowa. KXEL. How are you, Mike?
Mike, I'm sorry, Mark, I'm not doing very well. I've got 4 broken bones and a collapsed lung.
What?
But other than
From
that,
what? Hold on now. From what?
I fell down.
Oh, my God. Just an accident?
Well, I'm doing right now what I did then. I'm just pacing back and forth on the street behind my car. And I smoked a cigarette too hard because I only smoke 2 or 3 cigarettes a day anymore. And I got woozy and I just fell down and fell down the wrong way. Jeez. And I was in the hospital. I had 10 things attached to my body. And I felt like an inverted octopus. And, but that happened.
Well, you got lightheaded, I guess. Yeah? Is that what happened?
Yeah, that's what happened, Mark.
And you broke 4 ribs? My God, I'll tell you, I missed 2 steps and I tore my right tendon 100%, and I'm still limping around. Anyway, my friend, what did you call about? I'm sorry you went through that.
How long ago was that?
That was last September, the September before this one. I was in bed 2.5 months staring at the ceiling.
We're about the same age. Same age, and it takes a long time to heal, doesn't it, brother?
We're 40 years old, of course. Yes, it does.
Well, actually, I'm 23 years old.
Okay. So what's going on? Tell me.
I wanted to talk to you about Ma'am Danny. Not Mrs., not Ms., but Ma'am Danny.
Ma'am Danny.
See, you got to put a pause between the 2 syllables. Ma'am Danny.
Got it.
Now, there is a. As I recall, about 3 decades or so ago, there's a Turkish proverb, and there's this axe, and this axe is standing up on
I've got 30 seconds.
A cut off tree.
Yeah. What happened?
Cut off tree, and it's looking out over the other cut off trees, and beyond that, it's looking at the forest line, and it's saying, "Vote for me. Vote for me because I'm like you. I have a wooden handle."
Well,
and this is exactly what Ma'am Danny is doing.
All right, my brother. Look, get better. That's what matters. Get better. Thanks for your call. I enjoyed it. We'll be right back.
Mark Levin.
We move forward, right? Yes, we do. Yes, I can. I don't have time to take any more callers. I apologize. The callers were great. What a week. Every week, it seems to me, is a new battle, new information, every single night. And I want to thank you for being here. It's easy to move on. I get it. It's easy to shut these things out. I get it. But if we don't engage, who will? And if we don't do it now, well, when will it be done? Every Friday in your honor. Here we go. is over and the weekend begins right now, right? And I'll see you tomorrow night on Fox, 8 p.m. Eastern Time. I know you're going to love the program. Set your DVR. Same with Sunday. Life, Liberty, and Levin. We salute our armed forces, police officers, firefighters, emergency personnel, our truckers. The men and women in Ukraine, yes, we do. The men and women in Israel, yes, we do. Kill Hamas. You heard me. Kill them. Good night, Spritey. Good night, Griffey. Good night, Pepsi. Good night, Smokey and Zelda. Good night, Indy and Pat and Rory. Good night, Gigi. Good night, Marty. Good night, little Barney. Good night, Dad. Good night, Mom. Good night, Leo. Good night, Joe. Good night, Bernard. Teddy, Lou, we're holding down the fort. We're putting up the good fight. And all the other great patriots who have passed. Again, I'll see you tomorrow night on Fox, 8 p.m. Eastern. Have a wonderful weekend. God bless each and every one of you. Take care.